Hi guys, I'm here again. I'm going to trace this photograph. I don't know if I sent you this one or not. Maybe I did. I'm going to use this Stabilo paper, glass, plastic, metal pencil. It's brown and has another property, so it's aquarellable. So if you put the line down, and then you could take it off with a little bit of water. Or spit, this case might be. So I'm going to sketch this guy. The thing about this guy is that you see part of his left side of his face is in the shadow and the right side is mostly in the light. So I'm going to make an example of this to represent how you could work with the image and have a partial rendering as opposed to very detailed drawing on both sides. So I'm going to do the same thing I did before. I'm going to roughly sketch in his head, ears. So here you could see that the head goes in front of the ear, so therefore this line is in front of this line. Now you could see his jaw. It's a guy, he has a very well defined jaw line right here. And so hard little corner, and you could see it on the other side also in the outline. Then I could see his chin, and then it disappears into this big shadow here. I can't see anything, so I'm going to trace things that I could see so clearly. His neck, part of his collar, somehow I don't know what it is right now, but for the sake of example it's going to be like this. And then on the other side I could also see the outline. I could see where his hair begins here, so I'm going to give that line. And I could see his eye. I'm going to turn it on. I'm going to see his eye. So the top lid is heavier and it goes over. It's longer. The line that represents the upper lid is longer and heavier than the one that represents the lower lid. And lower lid will also have a little thickness. And then you could see his iris is partially exposed to about a third of it is covered. About a third of a circle that iris forms is covered by the upper lid. And then the lid itself has a thickness and a fold. And I'm going to draw this line. You could make an outline for his really pronounced eyebrow and make a drawing like this. His pupil will probably also be touching, if not partially covered by the upper lid. Now you see here the white of an eye recedes into the depth of the eye socket. So there is a little bit of a corner space here that turns dark, and there is a tear corner here. I'm going to call it tear corner. It's going to be my own term. There's a better way to call it, I'm sure. You'll find out. I'm going to trace his ear a little bit more definitive. So you are made aware that his ear wraps around away from us. And it's like a shell. So kind of, it has a depth here where the opening is, and it wraps around. There's a shadow there. So the point of this exercise is to learn how the shadows are generally shaped. There's a little bit of shadow on top of his ear, closer to his head. And so of course it's a drawing in much greater detail than you normally need for fashion illustration if you're illustrating garments. However, if you're illustrating, I don't know, makeup or headgear or something with the face close up, you need more details, but this is where you're studying the general shapes of the face and learning them by heart, so you could then place them on your much smaller drawing. Like if your head is this size as opposed to that size, you could put them on by heart. So in this particular case, we're going to say that let's say that this is the shadow. So let's say that this whole side of his face and neck and his head is it's a shadow. But shadows make shapes and they describe 3D objects, and by placing shadows correctly you could express a 3D object such as his head. This is what I'm doing. I'm going to put this entire thing in the shadow. And then I'm gonna go back again and do smaller details, because I could still see his nose, his nostril, bottom of his nose. There's a little bit of a shadow here. Here you could see there's a highlight. So I'm gonna make a little circle. You could see it's a boing, it's a highlight. And then there is a little bit of a shadow in the wing of his nose. And nose, we learn, is if you drop a line out of the corner of his eye, it will end somewhere here. Then you could see there is a little bit of a softer shadow under his eye. And there will be a shadow right around here. Here you could make it softer because there isn't a hard line there, because the nose is rolling over this way, right? So it's rolling over. So the shadow will be soft. And then there is a little bit of a shadow that goes this way. This way. It's not the surface of his nose. And then of course his high cheek, you have to understand that it's right here. And in this case, he has kind of what's called a hollow cheek. I would call it hollow cheek because the bone is still right here, but his flesh is not so chubby, it appears. So there's a little bit of a shadow that goes right here and fading away from us. So I'm going to say his cheekbone is right here. So lighter spot and then darker spot that recedes, and this is darker still because there is a surface here at his temple. Right here we have more dramatic shadow going this way, so there is not like a equally dark shadows on both sides of his face like we had in previous drawings. And again, I'm going to address the lips. So lips are shaped the same way. So there's a little bit of a roll in the top upper lip and 2 rolls in the bottom lip. So that's how you get this formation in the middle. That's a little dip and a little concavity there, and you could see very well pronounced this shadow here. There is a little bit of a roll here. He has like a puffy feature. Right, his lips end right here. The top lip covers the bottom lip, and the line that represents it, it's longer because of it. Then there is a dip in the middle, and then you connect that way, that way, that way. So you could see highlight is in the middle of his bottom lip, and there's also highlight that goes kind of descends right here and schemes the upper lip. So it's kind of like there's a little highlight there. And a little shadow opposite that, because there's this indentation under the nose. And the darkness, the shadow at the edge of his chin, meaning that it recedes. You could see his Adam's apple right here. You could give it a little hit, and then there is an indentation here at the pit of his neck, between his clavicles, right? That's also like just a faint shadow, and maybe a little here for his mastoid muscle that is not very pronounced because his neck is quite thin, so he's a young, skinny lad. In the big burly male, there will be big muscle here, but it's not so here. So this is pretty much it. And then you could draw the iris and darken the pupil, and you could give him like a little hit of a white highlight there. But this could be another way how to represent the head. So not all details, just some. And yes, you could do something to his hair that's a little more exciting than this. You could give him little hairs here and there. So it doesn't look so boring. All right, so that's one guy, and next will be the next one. Okay. And so what you could do with these studies, you could shrink them then. You could shrink them and reduce them to the size of the head that you're drawing, and see what will be left of it. You know, what will be left of all these details. And study that and kind of multiply that and put it on your croquis. That's here's the guy. What you could do now, what I could do with this drawing is take a little bit of water and a brush and smudge him around. But I kind of like him like that. Okay.